Here's a story of a family and their dealings with the paranormal. Is there any truth to this haunting tale, or is it a fanciful concoction to spice up an otherwise humdrum life? Enjoy. So I'll start off by saying this story is true. I swear it's true, and my parents wouldn't lie to me about such a thing. It all began when my family moved from Blackburn, England to Weston-super-Mare, a seaside community in Somerset, England. I was 8 at the time. It was me, my parents, and my 2 brothers. One was 4, the other a newborn. My parents had decided to move after a rise of drug use and violence in the area we had lived in. Moving day had come, and we left to live in our new home in Weston. We had arrived, but before I set foot in our new house, I went to explore the neighborhood while my parents began unpacking. The new street was small, with only a few houses on it, and there was a train track at the end of the road, which was behind a huge steel fence. I loved to wander around on my own. I pretended I was in a zombie apocalypse, or that I was a superhero, or whatever else an imaginative 8-year-old would fantasize about. After a couple hours of exploring, I noticed the moving van had gone, so I decided to check out our new home. As I entered, I saw my dad walking down the stairs towards the front door. He stopped, looked at me, and said, "Son, what the hell do you think you're doing? You'll end up breaking your legs if you keep messing about." "Dad," I replied, "I've just been outside on the street. What did I do?" He looked at me and said, "Stop messing about, and if I see you climbing out your bedroom window again, you'll be grounded." My mom asked what's wrong, and my dad explained that he just heard me upstairs and saw me in one of the rooms. My mom said she was keeping an eye on me as I played outside and that I hadn't been upstairs. Both my brothers were in the living room with her, and they hadn't been upstairs either. My dad looked at us and just shrugged it off. About an hour later, we were getting hungry, so my mom left to a local shop to get us a meal. While she was out, my brother and I began messing around in the upstairs bathroom when I noticed a panel to the attic on the bathroom ceiling. I began to climb. I placed my feet on the bathroom doorknob and both my hands over the top of the door. I pulled myself up and used the top of my head to slowly lift the panel. Then came a tug and I fell, landing hard on my wrist. I know for a fact I was stable at the time. Then, in an instant, it felt like there was a weight yanking my hand to the floor. I looked at my wrist and had never seen anything like that. Then I had that feeling. That feeling like someone was standing directly behind me. I ran into the living room, hysterical. My dad yelled, "Pack it in!" I stopped and saw him staring at my forearm. It looked like I had a second elbow. My bones had completely snapped. My hand and half my forearm were just hanging there, rocking back and forth, while me, my brother, and my dad just looked at it, in complete shock. My fingers were shaking and twitching, but it didn't hurt at all. I didn't feel a thing. I'm taken by ambulance to Bristol Children's Hospital, and am there for several days. After a short time there, I came home sporting a huge, bright orange cast. During that time, my dad's friend had been staying over to help them finish unpacking. One morning, he was standing in the kitchen with my dad, just talking about random stuff. I came down the stairs and they both stared at me with a confused look on their face. Then my dad's friend spoke, asking how I did that. "Did what?" I replied. "You just walked past us to the living room like 2 seconds ago." My dad leaned off the counter, walked over and checked the living room. Nothing. He had this surprised look about him, but he stayed calm. My dad knew if he started flipping out, then I just might flip out too. His friend turned to him and said, "Mate, I swear to God, something just walked past. You've just moved into a haunted house." My dad looked right at me and said, "Don't listen to him, son. He's just fussing about." I'm not sure how far apart these next events took place. I was only told about these a few days ago. One night my dad woke up to the sound of the toilet flushing over and over. Assuming it was either me or my brother, he got up and walked right into the bathroom. He stopped and stared at the toilet handle going up and down repeatedly, till he said, "Will you pack it in?" so that my mom would assume it was one of us kids. as not to scare her. It stopped and my dad backed slowly out of the bathroom and back to the bedroom, keeping his eyes fixed on the toilet. Later that night, there was a massive crash from downstairs, waking everyone in the house. It had sounded like every window had been smashed, and all at the same time. My dad proceeded to run downstairs and found that every single pan, plate, glass, and piece of cutlery had been thrown about the kitchen. But the last straw finally came when my mom had woken up in bed one night to see two black muffled figures slowly coming towards her, moving yet motionless. After reaching her side of the bed, they vanished. That was it. She decided that we can't live here anymore. Within a day, she borrowed enough money to put a deposit down on a different property in Weston, and we moved. Several days had passed from that incident, and my mom returned to hand over the keys to the landlord. She knocked on his door and, with no answer, slowly stepped inside. A look of terror covered her face. She stood horrified to find the inside almost completely dark, blanketed with swarms upon swarms of flying ants. There were so many that they covered the windows, preventing any outside light from entering. She dropped the keys and left. 17 years have passed, and to this day, my parents still have nightmares of the property. They have just recently recounted the story of that house, the story that I now tell you. After hearing it again, after all those years, I'm positive that I was pulled to the ground on the day I tried to get into the attic. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time.